Hi guys, welcome to Perseverance Software Training Institute. I'm Sai Chiran. So in this series of Docker, right? So this video will look into volume mapping in Docker. All right. So firstly, let's understand what is meant by data persistency. All right. So data persistency. Let's basically understand this particular terminology here. So data, data is some kind of data, right? And persistency, see, the meaning of this is, so consider you have a container, and if the container is running with an application, some application, app1, so it generates or it needs some volume. What is a volume? To store data, right? So you can consider it as storage or volumes, right? Storage, right? See, basically, even on our system we call as D drive, C drive on Windows, right? Right. So what are all this? So these are all volumes where we store the data, correct? Maybe on a storage device. So equivalently here, so this needs a storage, so ideally consider it needs volume to store some data. So the thing is, if the container somehow it got crashed, or the application you know had broken and container went in some status where it cannot be recovered, so and so. So what happens then? The data which is available on the volume will also be lost. That is where we need to ensure that this volume is preserved somewhere, right? This particular volume is preserved somewhere, and we can have this volume in a safe zone somewhere, and that can be used later by running app1 in another container, right? So that is how. So let me explain on the presentation. If you see here, right? So you have, this is our Docker host, the gray one, and the yellow one is our app container. So it is generating or storing some data or having some data on a volume, right? So this data, if this container is lost, right, the data inside the container definitely will also be lost. All right. So instead what we are doing is, we are basically mapping the volume on the container to a volume on the Docker host, right? So meaning on the server. So on the server we have this volume which is mapped to data volume inside the container, right? See, it is ideally like server level port or container level port, right? So now what happens is, the volume on the Docker server is mapped to the data on the app container. Now what happens is, whatever data available here will be in sync with this particular volume, and whatever data is available here will be in sync with this particular volume, because these both are on sync. So one on the host level, meaning Docker server level, and another on the container level, which is inside the container. So though the container gets crashed, or somehow it is not available with us right now maybe, so we can have our data safe inside our volume which is residing on the Docker host, right? I hope you guys got it correct. All right, perfect. So this is the strategy of having volume mapping. So we will see how to map the volume in next video. All right. Yeah. Thank you guys.